Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and you're watching In Depth on Now You Know. All right, hi everybody. Welcome to In Depth. Not sure exactly where Zac is, but he was very excited, and he said that the name of this episode was going to be Sales Fleet, and I'm not exactly sure why. Holy crap. Whoa, hey. Whoa. Hi.
Stardate 2019.4.2. I've beamed down to a planet, and it appears that Tesla needs a sales fleet.
You are leaning into this episode, aren't you?
This is important stuff.
What are we talking about today, Captain?
Sales fleet.
Okay.
The Federation of Sales.
Okay.
Before we proceed, you need to be wearing your blue science uniform.
Okay.
Science officer.
All right, buddy. Why don't you have Scotty beam you back up to wherever the heck you came from and come dressed a bit more appropriately? Yeah, that's much better. Okay.
What just happened?
Let's
feel
get
weird.
Okay. This episode was sponsored by abetterrouteplanner.com. Zach's going to be meeting up with Bo from A Better Route Planner for their European road trip next month, using A Better Route Planner to navigate all the way from Sweden to Italy and to the UK.
And we're sponsored by ecoware.us, where we've carbon offset from the harvest of the cotton all the way to the end of the life of the t-shirt. So go check them out right now. Use the promo code NOWYOUKNOW for 10% off your purchase.
All right, so let's start talking about Sales Fleet, but I think before we do that, we need to read Elon's letter to employees that he was talking about.
There's still some uncertainty around Tesla stores and the sales team. Hopefully this note clears things up. Please let me know if there's anything I've forgotten to address. Stores with a high visitation rate and that lead to significant sales will absolutely not be closed down. It would not make any sense to do so, except in rare cases where the rent is absurdly high. Moreover, Tesla will continue to open stores throughout the world that meet the above criteria. Stores that are in a location with low visitation rates, i.e., empty most of their opening hours, and lead to low sales will gradually be closed down. This is analogous to seeds on barren ground. There is no reasonable way to justify keeping such stores open. Stores that are somewhere in the middle will be evaluated over time to see there is some way to allow them to cover their costs. If there is, they will remain open. Otherwise, not. However, these stores will be given a fair opportunity to prove their case. The above principles also apply to the sales team. No one who is a major contributor to demand generation will be let go. That would make no sense. However, sometimes in a company with 45,000 people, things happen that make no sense. I will do my best to remedy issues when brought to my attention directly or through this email address. What is meant by all sales will be online is just that the act of purchasing a Tesla will always be done via the potential new owner's phone or computer. This is true whether they are at home or in a store. Unlike buying from other car makers, ordering a Tesla doesn't require any physical paperwork. This is very different from normal expectations for buying from other car makers and is simply meant to emphasize that ordering a Tesla is super easy and can be done in 2 minutes from your phone or laptop at tesla.com. Ordering a Tesla is not much harder than ordering an Uber, but hardly anyone knows this. However, many potential Tesla owners will still want to talk to a Tesla representative in person or want to test drive from a Tesla representative. Stores also have a small number of Tesla vehicles available to drive away immediately for customers that want a car right then and there. This is why stores and Tesla product specialists and owner advisors will always be of critical importance to our long-term success. Thanks, Elon.
Okay, that's I feel like it's a problematic letter.
Yeah. I mean, the first problem I have with this is that it's not an innovative approach to selling what is a very innovative product.
Right. I mean, this point here, stores that are somewhere in the middle will be evaluated over time to see if there is some way to allow them to cover their costs. If there is, they will remain open, otherwise not. Now, cover their costs. I mean, these should be profit centers for Tesla. These shouldn't be...
They're not supposed to just break even. You don't have stores around to just break even.
If you had that in your business, you'd be in trouble.
Exactly. So, I mean, is he doing it just for fun? Is he doing it? I mean, that makes no sense.
Right. So that's problem number one. Then we have problem number two, is that this does not put employees at ease, right? This isn't motivating. This isn't like, and we're going to win or anything like that. It's just simply like, I mean, it's good that he's clarifying some of these things. Some of these things were a little confusing, like, oh, all of our sales will be online. Like, I think most of us, talking to everyone here, probably understood that, like, yes, Tesla sales have always been done online. Even if you go to the showroom, you're going to be doing the sales online. But like for a new Tesla salesperson, that might not be clear, and you might be like, my job's going away.
Yeah, I mean, if I was a Tesla employee right now, I would be looking for the exit. I would just be going, I don't know what's going on here. Things keep changing every week, and this letter doesn't make me feel at ease.
Because it feels like there could be another letter where...
Right, a few weeks later.
And here's where I think that the letter should have veered off in a completely different direction. Basically, the high-performing stores are going to stay open. Great, keep that in. And, unless there's absurd rent, sure, whatever. And then he should have... the email should have taken a turn, and he should have said, yes, the high-performing stores are going to stay open, but everyone else, we're going to be switching models to a sales fleet.
Sales fleet! Want me to go get my Star Trek outfit?
No.
Oh.
He then would have continued. He said that stores will stay open until the leases are up, and the top echelon of the sales performers will transition to the sales fleet.
What's sales fleet?
Something like that.
Do they get starships?
On that.
What is sales fleet?
So he'll then go on to say, I'm excited because this will no longer tie you down to your ability to sell cars.
So they're going to have spaceships.
Well, closest thing. So what is sales fleet? So this idea came to us from Ross, and we talked about it on our last Tesla Time News, but it has been buzzing through our heads all week. We've just been constantly thinking about it as like, what about this? What about that? What about that? And we've put all of our points together, and we want to bring up what this whole concept is. Online, you sign up for a test drive, and you put down a small deposit, say about $20.
Okay.
And then a Tesla sales fleet member will schedule a test drive, and they will show up to your home or business, so it's a lot like Tesla Service Fleet, and they will give you a test drive.
So let me see how this works. So I go on to Tesla.com. I say, I'd like to check out the new Model 3, and then I put in some information, and then they contact me later and say, like, how about next Friday at lunch?
Right.
And I say, sure, pick me up at work. And then they come in a car, and I go for, let's say you're the driver, I go for a ride with you, and you explain the car to me, and then at some point I get into the driver's seat and I experience the car.
Right. And this would be, I would say, up to the sales member, but we're gonna continue to talk about this.
Okay. And so what's the big advantage of this over a store?
Basically, right now, in order to do a test drive, you need to schedule a test drive. So, I mean, in that sense, it's the same. But then you need to go to a location, Tesla store, basically, and they will take you for a test drive. And that is just another step of you having to schedule, right, in your busy life, and then have to go somewhere to do the test drive. I've been on some test drives, and they're not necessarily in the worst places in the world to do a test drive, but they might not necessarily be in the best place. It's going to be someplace that I haven't been before, for the most part. I've had to drive all the way to Natick to go for a test drive, and it's like a little scary because it's not my roads.
And you're leaving out one step, which is that usually a lot of people go to the Tesla store, see the car, and go, I'd like to go for a test drive. And they go, great, come back next Thursday.
Right.
And it's like, well, I'm here now.
Right. And that is exactly right. You have to
I'm excited now.
Right. You have to schedule pretty much in the store.
Right.
I mean, I think you can call them. You might be able to do it online. But for the most part, you still have to go to the physical location.
Right.
And so this would completely remove that. And also, as Ross said, after about 10,000 miles per one of these sales fleet cars, you'd be able to sell them at a reduced rate. So you'd get, Tesla buyers in who are buying basically a new car for a rate that they can
discount.
afford. Right.
And the other cool thing about this is that when you go into a Tesla store and I say walk up to you and ask you some questions as a Tesla employee, and then later I go home and I decide to buy the car, Tesla has no way to know that you were the person that was the last person I talked to that might have convinced me to buy the car. They just know that I bought it at the store you worked at.
Right.
And so maybe you're the worst salesperson. Maybe I went home and I didn't buy the car, and they don't know that. They have no connection between potential owners and Salesforce.
Right.
Whereas with your idea, if you go pick people up, they're going to know one-on-one who bought, what percentage of people bought from you compared to some other employee.
Right. So another aspect of this is that, not all customers are going to, buy the car right away. And some of them might need more convincing. So at the end of the test drive, the employee could, sense that the potential customer wasn't really sold.
Yeah, like I'm really excited about this test drive we just did, but like I don't know if my wife's gonna like it, or I don't know if our car seats are gonna fit in it, or will my dog fit in it? And I mean, how about supercharging on a long trip? Like, how does that work? Is it easy? And then like if I get home and I want to charge it, how do I do that?
And Tesla already sort of has this as an extended test drive, which is a 3-day pass to basically have a loaner car for 3 days. You get to experience a Tesla at your house. You drive it to work, you drive it home, you plug it in, you get the full experience. Maybe you wait to go for a long trip in it, right? For those 3 days.
Yeah, go for a day trip over the weekend.
Right. That kind of thing is going to help sell the car better. And so the Tesla sales fleet member would actually be able to give you that if they were sensing that you needed it.
So another cool aspect of having a fleet member drive up to my work is that me and some coworkers could hop in, maybe go out for lunch with you, and you could talk it up over lunch as well. And then another idea is like maybe I want my whole family to experience it, so you come pick us up on a Friday after work or Saturday, right, and the whole extended family gets to get into the car and experience it together.
Right. And so then that way if will my 7-year-old fit in the back seats of the car? That would completely grease the wheels. Another point is that this is innovation. Tesla is famous for completely revolutionizing different aspects of cars, right? There's no dealership. That is one huge aspect of it. But they still have these dealerships. But they're not dealerships. They're stores, but they're showrooms. But they're not dealerships, but they're
information centers.
Right. I mean, dealerships conjure up a negative connotation to me. I think of sitting for hours while they go back and forth into a back room. They bring me into the back room. They haggle with me about numbers.
And car salesmen have this bad rap of just like, hey there, Sonny. I mean, Vinny Bamboozolini sort of, car salesman type of just this sleazy, just wants to grease you. And,
watch it there.
But this is completely changed with Tesla, right? You do not have that. There's no haggling over prices. Tesla has the price. That's the price.
I mean, no other car company does what we're talking about with the sales fleet, and it wouldn't work for any other car unless it was a supercar.
Right.
Which, by the way, they do bring to your house. If you're going to buy $1 million car, they bring it to your house.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason. So why would this work? Well, first of all, if you go to a sales fleet model, there's no overhead practically. I mean, there's a car and there's a person, but there's no showrooms to lease. There's no electric bills or heating bills for the store. There's no plowing. There's no big staff that you have to have like janitors and, receptionists. You've greatly reduced the overhead. Also, this leverages the web, which is how Tesla wants you to buy the car in the first place. I mean, they're telling you that it's online purchasing, and yet you have to go to a store. But you don't really need to go to the store. There's no paperwork, but there's kind of some paperwork.
Right. And that's not how people buy cars. Like, people are not... I don't just sort of go like, I'm going to buy a car today. Right? You don't just like wake up one day and are like, I'm going to plonk down some money on a car. Tesla wants you to have this sort of sight unseen thing with the Tesla, and then there's this 7-day return policy, which we've talked about before. Not a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I want to test drive the car, so I'm gonna go to my bank. I'm gonna finance a bunch of money. I'm going to get insurance for the car. I'm going to get plates for the car. I'm going to do all of these rigmarole steps to finally get the car. Then I'm gonna test drive it for a week, and then I don't like it, but I already got the financing.
Right.
I already got the insurance. So now I have to go cancel the financing. I have to go cancel the insurance. I have to, it's a big pain to...
This was a real Silicon Valley solution, right. I think. And I think somewhere along the line, someone said, well, you got to have stores because no one's going to buy the car without a store. So they're like, okay, we'll have stores.
Right.
But then that just muddled up the whole point of the car. You're supposed to buy it online. Right. This way, with the sales fleet, you keep that Silicon Valley innovative feel to it, which is no one's ever done it this way before, but you get everything the customer wants. The customer wants to be in the car and to experience it. They don't really need the showroom. Now, that doesn't mean we're against showrooms.
Right.
I think in some high traffic areas or some high
class areas.
Yeah, some high class areas.
Yeah. It makes sense to have a showroom to cement your brand or whatever you need to do to to tell yourself that the showroom was a good idea. It certainly does have a purpose. I think that some people, when they're, going to the highfalutin shopping mart, will, inevitably be like, oh, Coach and Gucci and Tesla. And that cements the brand of like, this is a luxury brand, you guys really want this kind of car. And this gets to another point, which is that for Tesla, the cars sell themselves. Right. These are completely different cars. This is not like a Honda Civic, but different. It's propelled differently. It's fueled differently. It has a different feel to it in almost
autopilot.
Every single way. It has autopilot. And when people get behind the wheel, even when they get in the passenger seat, they are so excited. The car completely sells itself.
When you're selling this car at a showroom, the car is stationary, and you can show off a few things like the Falcon Wing doors.
But it may as well be a Camry sitting there. It may as well be a Corolla or a Honda Civic or an Accord. It doesn't sell anything about the car. The car needs to move.
Exactly.
That is the only, otherwise it could be any car. Right. And then you're just looking at the interior and you're going like, I don't know, the screen is a little weird. Exactly. Don't you think?
Right.
And, you might be impressed like, oh, it's like a big iPad in there. But you're not experiencing everything else that the car can do.
Right. Now with Sales Fleet, the salesperson is now demonstrating live in person what the car can do. It's the perfect way to sell it. And the other point here is that things like autopilot, full self-driving cannot be described. You can't stand in a showroom and go, sir, let me tell you what autopilot does. Right. The customer's going to say, so it's like cruise control?
Right. And it's like, no, it's not like cruise control. Let me explain to you.
It's like,
well, most people are not even going to get that far. They're going to say, oh, I heard about that. I don't like that. Right? Because for most people, it's a new experience. It's completely different. And also, even if you get people in a test drive, it is a scary experience doing autopilot for the first time. For the first time in your life, you have had the controls taken away from you. Not taken away, but someone else is controlling the car.
Yeah. The car is controlling the car.
The car is actually controlling itself, and you're sitting behind the wheel, and you have no idea what the car is going to do because you don't have experience with it.
And here's the thing, Jesse and I know what we're talking about because we've done this so many times. When we're showing off a Tesla, we drive the person first. We're in the driver's seat, and we put it into autopilot at some point, and we explain what's going on so that the passenger can sit there and go, okay, I'm safe. Zach or Jesse is in the driver's seat. Right. They know what they're doing.
They're experts. Right. So I trust that everything's going to go okay.
And they're learning. They're basically able to take this in without the fear. Now, when you get into the driver's seat for the first time with autopilot, there's a few minutes of sheer terror.
Right. And there's no time for questions, right?
Right.
You immediately just want to grab the wheel. Okay, that was weird, right? As soon as we've learned this from experience and by mistake, right? We've put people in the driver's seat, turn on autopilot, and they either get super freaked out or they're like, this is great. Wow, this is, holy smokes. I can't believe that the car is driving itself. And that's dangerous. And that, shouldn't be like, okay, sir, that was autopilot.
Well, I mean, I remember my experience driving Sparky home. I had never driven autopilot before. No one showed me how to drive autopilot other than showing me in a stationary car in the dealership. And so I was basically on my own to figure it out. Now, not to say that it's that difficult, but it is scary. You're going 65 miles an hour on the highway, you flick it into autopilot, and now your car's driving.
And this is where a salesperson would have experience with this sort of thing. They'd be able to judge. Zach is the sort of driver who would be able to handle autopilot on his own at first. And you'd just sort of like, okay, Zach, here's what's going to happen. You're going to double tap this thing, and the car is going to go boom, and then it's going to start to drive itself. And I want you to do this or that or the other thing. Or you decide this person is not ready for autopilot. Right. And they decide that as they're walking up because this person is a salesman, obviously. Right. And they're going to be able to make these decisions.
And if that customer gets a good experience for the first time with autopilot, when they go home, they are not going to stop talking about it.
Absolutely.
Whereas if they don't experience autopilot at all, that's one whole less thing that they have to talk about.
And it's such a huge, huge aspect of the car.
And I guess if you're watching this and you haven't experienced autopilot yet, it's kind of like, it's hard to explain because Jesse and I were trying to think of examples of what it's like to get used to autopilot.
I think the closest one that we came up with was it's like a Segway, which is not helpful because most people haven't ridden Segways before. But basically, there's this first moment where you step on a Segway where your brain is just like, something's wrong, ground's moving, whoa! right? And that's exactly what happens when you when you let go of the wheel on autopilot. You're going, car driving, bad, different, stop, grab it.
True.
That is exactly what, and those two things are very similar. And then there's like this, okay, I'm balancing. And if I do this, I go forward. And if I do this, I go backwards.
Right.
So like people can understand that it takes a minute. And with autopilot, I think it takes hours.
What about an example that most people would understand, though? How about something like you were talking about when kids first drink a fizzy drink?
Right.
Like
so,
a soda drink.
when kids are younger and you feed them some soda and they go, what is this?
Right.
This is a different experience.
Because, I mean, basically something just kind of exploded in your mouth.
Right. And
it
it's
feels
a completely new and different experience.
How did water just do that? So let's move on to another point about the sales fleet. If you're in a Tesla store right now, one of the whole ideas behind the store is that it'll help them to upsell solar and batteries, right? You're in there looking at a car, but by the way, sir, there's solar. And in theory, it seems to make sense. But in my experience, and maybe yours too, having gone to stores, there's solar stuck on the wall. There may be a picture of a Powerwall or maybe a real one stuck on the wall.
And there's usually a screen,
Yep.
right? And it's showing solar panels and it's showing the battery. And there's a Powerwall sitting on the wall.
And you know what's funny is that the stores here in the Northeast have pictures of California homes stuck over there with none of the things that we have
No
here.
explanation.
There's no trees. There's beautiful weather.
Right.
The houses look different than our houses. So it doesn't work. I'll be quite honest. You're in there, first of all, to look at the car. And so the idea here is that if you were driving with a salesperson who had 20 or 30 minutes alone with you in the car, they'd get to know you. They would ask questions as you're driving. Hey, I checked out your house online. I saw, a Google Map picture of it.
They would be able to do prep work. So before they go to and meet you, they can check out your house either online to see what kind of exposure, or they can actually like go visit and take a look and be like, oh, that tree is going to be a problem and this or that and the other thing. So that way, as you're driving the car, they can either pull up on the screen or they hand you an iPad, one or the other.
Right.
And you get to look at it and be like, all right, so this car, right now you're driving a Toyota Corolla. You are going to save X number of dollars a year.
Right.
I can get that number even lower if we put solar on your house.
Right.
You're sitting in the car and you're having the time of your life.
Right.
And you're going like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to save so much money, right? And that is a great way to upsell. That's exactly when you should be thinking about buying solars, when you're getting an electric car, because your electric use is going to go up.
And, you've just become the face of the company for me if I'm the potential customer, which Tesla doesn't have now.
Right.
They have an online experience only, which is fine. It's efficient, but people are people. They want to have someone hold their hand through a giant purchase. And here's another part of this sales fleet, which I think would be highly effective. People asking for a test drive, obviously those are great customers because they already know about the car enough to ask for it.
Right.
But there's a lot of people out there who would be great customers who are never going to ask for it just because they don't even know what to ask for. And Jesse and I have met those people millions of times.
Right. I remember we were at a Tesla meetup, right? We had 7 Falcon wing doors, all with the wings up. And I hear from 30 yards away, wow, holy crap, what are those, right? This guy had never heard of Tesla before. He comes running over. He's like, this is amazing. Look at this. Who makes this? What is that? It's a Tesla.
Yeah.
Why haven't I not heard about it? And I blew that guy's mind probably
you took him for a
every
ride.
20 seconds.
Yep.
There was another, those are the Falcon Wing doors. It's fully electric. It can go 0 to 60 in 3.3 seconds.
When he came back from that test ride, he was on another
He was
planet.
a changed man.
Yeah.
A smart salesman who is part of the sales fleet is going to be able to find these people.
Yeah, I mean, you can go to car shows, for instance, and you will just have your pick of people who are there to see cars. They love cars.
Right.
And this car is the best car.
Right. Take it to a drag strip.
Right. And I mean, so there's so many places that these people could go to find new potential customers that aren't even going to ask for the product. And some of those are the best because, like Jesse just said, you just blew their entire mind.
Right. And this is someone who didn't have anyone in their life who exposed Tesla to them, which means that for the most part, no one in their life knew about Tesla. So you've just opened like a new node of exposure to people. I think that, salespeople with this level of autonomy of just being able to go out into the world are going to come up with methods that will work in their region.
And here's the thing. In the store, you're really hampering your sales force right now, Tesla, because so many of those salespeople, A, haven't driven the car or driven it enough, and B, can't drive the customer as they're talking to them. So you're really doing them a disservice. And so many of those salespeople really don't know enough about their product. They can't really answer most real life questions,
right?
Because they don't live in the real world with the car. But with this sales fleet idea, those people would be driving the car so much and have gotten used to so many questions that they would be so good at this job.
They'd be experts.
They would be experts that you'd ask them a question, they'd know how to answer it.
Right.
Like, that's what you want. And here's another great point. It would be an awesome job to have.
Right. You'd have people dying for these positions because it would allow them to do what they love instead of spending endless hours standing around waiting for customers.
Think about the innovation there. You've just taken a job that was arguably one of the worst jobs, right? Having to go to the same place every day and do the same kind of thing standing around. And you turned it into an adventure.
Right.
You turned it into, where am I going today? Who am I going to meet? I'm going to get to change lives today.
Right.
Pretty exciting stuff.
I just can't believe that Tesla hasn't come up with this idea before, that they never have done it at all. And the only reason I can think that they haven't done it is because it would increase demand so much that they just wouldn't be able to make the cars fast enough. Because, I mean, they already can't make the cars fast enough. And this would just make it even worse, right?
I think you answered your own thing. I don't think they ever thought of it. I think they're really good at innovating the products and the software, but I think somewhere along the line, they went from where we're going to sell it online, and then someone said, stores, you need stores, and they forgot that they don't need stores, that's not an integral part of this. So I just wish that we could go back a few steps, take stores as a major part of the sales process out of the process, just have them there for little flagship, kind of like little flags, and go to the sales fleet idea. I think it's super innovative, and I think that it's going to be highly effective.
Right. So if you think that it's effective, I don't know, go tweet this to Elon. It seems to be one of the best ways to get a hold of him. You know, I was just thinking, we were saying that the cars sell themselves. Someday, the car could actually sell itself. It would drive to your house,
Sales
with no
fleet.
one in, and it would open the door and it would say, "Hello, welcome. Let us go for a test drive today."
Yeah.
And you'd just go for a test drive and it would say, "Notice this on the screen," and there'd be like a little circle. You know, come on, like someday that could be how you buy cars, right?
Not too far from now. I think you're right.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of In Depth. We really hope you enjoyed it. And please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And also the bell button next to it. The bell button will give you a notification. That's either an email for those of you who aren't really into this app thing. And if you do have, YouTube as an app, it will give you a notification to watch our latest episodes.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody.
Now you
Now you
know.
know.